Hi, my name is Jimmy Guzman, and I'll be reviewing Nature's Metropolis, Chicago in the Great West by William Cronon, published by W. W. Norton and Company in 1991. Uh, Before I begin, I would like to apologize if you have any problems understanding me. I do tend to stutter. I'll try my best not to. Let's begin. The the William Cronon in his book tells the history of the rise of Chicago in the late 19th century and the early 20th century. That rise leads to Chicago being the stepping stone to the Great West. Through that history, he shows the relationship between city and country, and he emphasizes that it's about the relationship, not the history. And because of that because of that relationship, which leads to his main argument, which is that city and country can't live without each other. And he supports this by stories he tells throughout the book. Those stories can be divided by three different parts. The first being it shows how Chicago became the metropolis it is today. Second means that the combination of first and second nature. And lastly, it shows the export and import of goods, or in other words, the capital. I would like, and William Cronon does a good job in outlining the book in his preface. He tells us about his goals, the structure, and his premises, and he also mentions some key terms, which I would like to mention as well. For him, the Great West was that it was from the Lake Michigan to the Pacific Ocean. He also talks about the frontier, which it's the area surrounding the Chicago. In the first part of the book, he tries to set the stage for the upcoming environmental changes. It tells us that Chicago began. People were interested in Chicago because of its fertile soil, and it was being called the wild garlic place. And then it became the fur trading post, and then eventually in the 1830s, the start of its metropolis history began. That start was fueled by what it's referred to as booster dreams, which is what it was being promoted as, believes that urban makes rural development possible. In other words, that you should buy land because the city was going to make it profitable. And then in this first part, this is where his book could also be an extension or the reverse of Frederick Jackson's Turner theory. William Cronon believed that cities emerge from country, contrary to Frederick Jackson's Turner theory. Throughout these first couple chapters, or chapter 2 to be exact, this is where he explains that rural words established Chicago as a stepping stone as the Great West. In this first part, he supports that city and country go hand in hand because he shows that the city came from country, and without it, the city would not have been possible. The second part is where he talks about the commodities and how the connection between urban and rural. And he uses two terms: first nature and second nature. First nature meaning nature untouched by humans, and second nature is the vice versa, nature touched by humans. and he tells us that those natures were combined because of the capitalist market, and that it made it, the demands of the first nature connected it to the country, and eventually transformed nature into commodities. He uses 3 different industries to support this: the grain, lumber, meat. In grain, he tells us that all 3 of these have one thing in common: railroads help those industries grow, and new technology, new tools help those 3 grows. Because grain was it was very popular because it was easy to grow, but it changed the different environment because it was a new crop introduced. Lumber, the city was basically built from the lumber surrounding the nature. He argued that the city was stealing from nature. Meat, he said that the connection was that livestock came from the surrounding nature, and then it came to the city to be mass produced through disassembly lines. In other words, to be slaughtered. This main section, the middle of the book, shows the connection between nature and or city and country. I mean, the third part is the development of the market, the map of the outcome of Chicago and the economical impact they had. It shows how the bank records showed how the connection to the city. For example, the money owed to farmers. This is where he also argued against the central place theory. And he also railroad that the extension of railroad helped Chicago export to more rural communities, not just from in and out of city and country, but to other rural communities, urban communities, which helped establish Chicago as the central of the Great West. To conclude, this meticulous account displays that the country and land cannot exist without each other, and William Cronon does a great job of showing that through a lot of detail. He uses like a story to connect the two throughout the book. It makes it enjoyable to read, and because of all this, he maps out the connection between land and country throughout the 19th century. I would like to